Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have Wendy Bjork joining us here, the founder of Hearts of Wellness. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Excited to have you here. You hail from, is it Phillips, Wisconsin?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. As an international speaker and mentor, she's here to talk more about the work she does in person and online to help a variety of teams and groups. We're going to talk more about this work she does. But first and foremost, give us a quick overview of the work you're doing as a coach.
I think just from navigating my own life with a chronic illness, I realized, after it's been 30 years with it, that there's so many people that don't realize how strong they are. And I just want to show them that they have this inner strength inside and, not to give up. So many people just don't have hope.
Yeah. Well, you're here to help people get through a lot. Tell us the website and phone number before we begin.
Sure. The website is hearts, which is plural, of wellness.com. And then my email for any support, excuse me, is just media@heartsofwellness.com.
Perfect. And I know we're going to talk about one of the co-author books that you've done that's a bestseller on Amazon. And of course, get into specifics of what you provide. But first, I think it's wise to kind of go back a little. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, if you don't mind sharing a little bit of your family life as well. And tell us, about your life story, your life journey, and how you got here to start Hearts of Wellness.
Yeah, I am from the middle of Wisconsin, and nobody usually knows Wisconsin except for Milwaukee and Green Bay because of the Packers. But that's okay because where we live, it's just in the forest, so it's great. If you need to go take a walk quick or just be in nature, it's shown me that you don't need a million trees around you to be in nature. You could have birds around you and you're in nature. And so that's really created a path for me to show other people how it's okay to just take a break. And we go through each day just thinking we have 8 million things to do, and we do. But if we just focus on three, that's what's really important is the three things that we really need to get done. And that's what I've shown my kids. I have two boys that, they're in their early 20s, and it's okay if you don't get everything done right now. We don't have because of this instant awareness around everything and instant gratification with the social media, with the internet, it's okay to just take a step back. And my older son actually did that. He took 2 years of school and now he is working as an aviation mechanic up in Alaska for a wildfire fighting unit. And he loves it. So I think it's just important to not only for ourselves, but to teach the kids around us that it's okay, whatever path you choose, that that's meant for you. And that's what I try to teach others is you're here for a purpose, you have a mission, and just embrace it. Don't try to change your path. And when you get, kind of hung up with a chronic illness or chronic condition, as I like to say, it's a sidetrack maybe, and maybe you have to put your attention there, but don't let it just take over your life. And you don't have to identify with it. Nobody likes to be labeled by anything. So I think that's really where I started my path is you just take one day at a time and see how that goes.
Great. And now tell me about your life. I mean, so this wasn't your original career. What were you doing before you started the coaching?
I was actually an insurance professional. That's what I went to school for was risk management. And I just love helping people. And so that was really what I enjoyed doing. I worked in a huge insurance office and just surrounded by busyness all day long, so the day
Hmm.
goes fast. But I'd had these weird things going on for probably 6 or 7 years by then, which none of the doctors could explain. Nobody had an answer for, but they weren't really concerned because nothing big had happened yet.
Hmm.
And that's, I guess, what they're all always waiting for is just something big, some big outward sign that you do have something wrong. And I just remember one day it was super busy and I was on a call with an angry customer and he was yelling at me because his claim wasn't getting paid. And all of a sudden, I couldn't talk. It's like someone had their hand over my mouth. I don't know if I was having a stroke or what was going on, but that sent me to my first neurologist and just down this trail of trying to figure out what's wrong, which took another at least a year. So I know that happens a lot to a lot of people. And just, I think what's important in what I didn't do right away was writing down what was going on, like when it happened, what was going on, and even how I felt. And I think that is huge in creating our path to wellness.
Well, thank you so much for telling us a little bit about this. And I know we want to dive into, overall, the work that you're doing. So you mentioned through, you provide a lot of one-on-one group mentoring to help women really navigate through challenges. You offer support through the digital platforms like a 30-day journal. I mean, there's a lot to your services. So what would you want to share about that? And then, of course, we'll talk about ways to kind of bring more acceptance and harmony into life.
hmm I think being seen, heard, and understood, those are all vital things that we all need. And so many people are not receiving that. When we tell somebody that doesn't believe us, no matter what it is, what we have going on, everybody's a skeptic for the most part, and they just doubt each other.
Yeah.
And that's what's really crushing. No matter, like I said, what you're dealing with, you tell somebody something and they immediately want to fix it. They immediately want to downplay it or just tell you it's all in your head, which I've had doctors tell me to my face. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
So part of the work is with my journal, especially, is there's space for all of this. There's space to
Hmm.
write this all down. And having a support circle is so very important. Even if it's 5 people around you that you can rely on and be authentic with, just to know they have your back without judging you or trying to fix you or trying to tell you about someone that they know did this and then that was their instant cure because there aren't any quick fixes. And that's what we've been conditioned to believe is that there's so many quick fixes and ways to mask symptoms. I think we need to get to the base of this in our country.
Thank you for that. And also reading and perusing through your notes. I know you want to talk more about holistic lifestyle and the environment that plays a role in our physical and mental health.
I think, like I said, not only just having a support circle is important, in which I create with our Hearts and Wellness Collective. We have a support circle of like-minded women
Yeah.
that are maybe dealing with different things, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all about being seen and heard. And then the
So
next
true.
step is about what you're surrounding yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
The people, and then the physical things that you're, I guess, exposing yourself to. It's in our hair care, it's in our makeup, it's in our cleaning products, it's in our laundry products.
Yep.
It's all around us.
Mm.
And even if you go down the cleaning aisle at the store, there's a reason that it is so overwhelming. And it's because a lot of those products are at their boiling point at room temperature. There's so many synthetic products in our country. It's just crazy. I mean, there's been like 80,000 created since World War II. That's
Yep.
not even 80 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think addressing that is huge
Mm-hmm.
because our body can only process so much.
Yep.
Everything we breathe in, that's in our cells in a matter of minutes. And what is it doing inside our body? We have no idea. And then combining all these products, we have no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, also the work that you're doing and enlightening people about all of this that's out there that we're not really sure. It's even in our air you mentioned, right? It's good to get out and to, really learn your environment and what's in the grocery stores, what's on the shelves, because I know that's, a big thing. There's so many products out there. I have little kids, so it's hard, they like their basic foods, sugar and all that stuff, but I feel like there's not enough enlightenment out there, like going to the supermarket and seeing all those sugary snacks on the end aisles. It's horrible, but unfortunately, I know a lot of us are putting the wrong things into our body, which are affecting us
Mhm.
overall, right? And
Right.
you really help people, especially, is it just women or all women? Only women, shall I say?
Well, I prefer to work with women, and that I think it's easier for them to be, authentic. And it would, in our circles, it has been mostly women. So,
Okay, so women, perfect. Then I had it right. So, what
mhm.
else do you want to share about the work you're doing? Because you said you're working along with doctors in a sense to help. Could you share how you're doing this?
Well, I just would like women to work alongside their doctor in knowing that, there's other things they can do. Because I just think back to probably 20 years ago, I asked my neurologist if literally if what I was eating was affecting my symptoms. And he said, no, there's no scientific proof. So I took that back home and just kept eating what I wanted, the sugar, the soda, whatever I wanted. And then once probably 8 years later, decided to just see what happened if I stop eating dairy and cut way back on sugar. And then the gluten is a whole nother probably show, but just taking some of it out. I mean, not just cutting it out because that's a extreme way to do it. And I think when you try to do too much at once, then that causes overwhelm, which people just quit. So I think just taking my example of just start cutting things out. Instead of having four cookies, just have one. Or instead of having a bag of chips, just grab a carrot. And I think that's the way I teach women to slowly change because we are not here to change everything all at once. And you will feel better. Because, like you said, the sugary snacks, they are everywhere. High fructose corn syrup is in everything. And now they're just changing it to corn syrup to trick us because they think, because we know something, and then they'll change it to something else, but still sneak it in. So I think just by supporting women, showing them they can do it, and showing them ways to feel better, because that's all we want. We just want to sleep better. And nobody thinks about the laundry soap that they used on their sheets, and maybe that's interrupting their sleep, or the fragrances that they're using. That's all being processed by our body one way or another. And I think just taking small steps is the way to go.
Hmm. Well, baby steps, right? As we like to
Mhm.
call it.
Yeah,
But you mentioned also you have to really be your own advocate in a sense. What is the 30-day journal and blueprint bundle? Could you share a little bit about that?
sure. That has it's set up so you print it out 30 days at a time. And once you download it, you can reprint it as many times as you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's set up in color, but it's also set up for black and white because I know not everybody loves color printers. But it just has a goal sheet for each month, like three goals, or I'm sorry, for each week, because it's set
Yeah.
up week by week, but for the entire month. But it has a goal sheet for each week of just three things you'd like to accomplish. And then it also has sheets, questions for your doctors, notes about what's going on with your health. I even put in doodle sheets because you're sitting on the phone on hold, and then what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, in there are wins for each week. Three things that you can count as a win. And it doesn't have to be huge, it can just be small things because they all count. When we focus on them, that's what creates more wins. And I think by including all of these different steps, it just helps us reframe our mindset.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, remind us at this time how we can reach you. Could you share the website and any information?
sure, my website is heartsofwellness.com. And then my email to contact me is media@heartsofwellness.com. I'm also on also all the social media platforms. So once you go to the website, those are all at the bottom. And I started a YouTube channel like, I don't know, 12 or 13 years ago. So I've been trying to put a lot more on there because it's searchable. And I just, love the sharing like our interview, sharing this with the
Yeah,
world and with my audience.
perfect. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, do you have any social media pages you want to share?
Sure, I have a Twitter page and that is my last name. So it's Bjork, Bjork, and then underscore MS. And then I
Mm-hmm.
put a lot of my nationally syndicated columns are shared there, all my articles and all my podcasts are shared through there. And like I said, on my YouTube channel, that's just at Wendy Bjork. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. and Facebook is just my name, Wendy Bjork. So
Perfect.
I think just having the message out there, sharing that people do have this, as I said in the beginning, the inner strength inside them. And even though it sounds hard, it's not.
Yeah. Well, also, I know for today you wanted to discuss a little bit about more about well, I guess your background, some obstacles you've overcome, and who would you say inspired you to get into this field, and who is your mentor?
Yeah. Well, my friend Rachel actually inspired me.
Okay.
She actually lives in Manchester in the UK.
Oh, wow.
And we met in a speaking group, or in like r- I guess a personal development group, I should say, probably 5 or 6 years ago. And she was a trained opera singer and actually failed her last exam. So she quit singing, but came around and decided to use her voice in other ways to, I guess, support women, support them on their journeys. And she just kept telling me, I need to share my message. And I kept telling her, A, nobody cares. B, nobody's going to believe me because I look fine. They're not going to think I have anything wrong. But she just kept at me. And it took probably a year to convince me that I need to share all these stumbling blocks of going from having no idea what these symptoms are that are weird, that the doctors tell you. It could be several things to you're imagining it, to you're being dramatic, to having a diagnosis of a chronic condition, which is really scary. And literally, like the seventh neurologist I saw that diagnosed me gave me a stack of pamphlets and sent me home. And this was the early 90s. So there really wasn't anything to look up online. You have books, you go to the library. But I think just having that challenge of I'm 22 years old, I don't want to have anything wrong. I want to go
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
shopping with my friends. I want to go out for dinner. I want to go
Yeah.
dancing. I don't want to be labeled as having something wrong. And just growing up, watching my one grandmother, she had rheumatoid arthritis, and she
Mm-hmm.
literally sat in a chair all day and looked
Yep.
out the window. And that's all I could think of was,
Aw.
oh my gosh, am I going to end up like this? I'm 20, I'm in my 20s. And I just decided to ignore all of it. And stress is a huge factor. And like that day that I couldn't talk, the stress level was so high that that's what happened. All of a sudden, I couldn't speak. So I think just knowing how to manage stress became my like game, just metering my energy and managing stress. Because I knew if I got too stressed out, I would have symptoms. But going from ignoring it to a few people knew about it,
Mm-hmm.
then probably by my 30s, still none of my friends really knew that I dealt with this. And even if they did find out, then they'd be quizzing me of, well, what's really wrong? What happens? And then I think, well, were they really my friends or they're just trying to decide if I was telling the truth or not? And that really held me back from talking about it. And one day, probably about 6 years ago, I finally went online and I said what I've been dealing with and that this has been my life. And now, just being in other groups, I can see what women are dealing with. People leave their lives, husbands leave them, they lose their jobs because their employer finds out. And that's part of the stigma. The stigma in our country is you have to look perfect, you have to be perfect, you have to be strong. You can't
Mm-hmm.
ask for help. You just have to be this Wonder Woman. And
Yep.
I think that's where the support comes in.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to hear also some client testimonials. I know there's still so much to talk about here, about how you got your start, quotes, about the work you've written. What else did you want to do next? This is your first show. We have 6 minutes left, and there's still, I feel like, so much more we need to cover. But I hope we're going to
Yes,
meet again soon, are we?
I hope so too.
Okay, good, good,
Um,
good. So what else did you want to make sure we cover for today?
um, I think just maybe I'll talk about my strong grandmothers and then how I just want people to know that whether they come to me or someone else, just keep going. Don't stop. Whatever you're doing to help yourself get healthier, just to keep on down your path. Um, and I just feel like watching my grandmother, and she actually, I think, must have passed away. She was probably in her early 60s.
Yeah.
But my other grandmother lived to be almost 90. So combining those two, along with my great aunt, who was, you know, strong. She was the leader of her family. She was a co-owner of an insurance agency in the 1960s, which was unheard of. Women didn't own businesses. You couldn't even have a checkbook in your own name if you weren't married or had a husband to sign for you. So we have come a long way, but we have a long way to go yet. And I feel like we are on the rise. We need to balance all this masculine energy out, and finding that balance is key.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. And also just want to urge everyone to make sure they go to your website. One more time, tell us how we find you.
My website is heartsofwellness.com. And then to go directly to the blueprint bundle, it's heartsofwellness.com/you, which is YOU. And that way you can download your copy and start working with it. There's a intro video on how to get going with it so you don't
Mhm.
feel lost. Just because you have this document, now what do you do with it?
Well, I also like to hear reviews, and I want to hear if you can share a story or two, but also just some testimonials. Someone here says, a happy client. By working with Wendy, I now feel more educated and that I'm on the right path to living a clearer, cleaner life with her help. I've stepped away, stopped taking my prescription blood pressure medication. I've opted for more natural ways to get healthy. After a conversation with my doctor, I will continue to weed out the chemicals in my home for the sake of my family's own health. This other person, Rena, says she's excited to implement changes immediately and finally use some new tricks with essential oils. I love learning in a safe, no judgment zone. Wendy did that research and saved me loads of time. Did you want to share a client experience or two with us today?
My dear friend Vanessa had ovarian cancer for
Oh,
probably 7 years and went through 5 rounds of treatments. She would be the only person in her cancer unit that was still coming back and forth. And well, it was 2 winters ago, we were speaking at a conference together, and her doctor told her not to go because of everything else going on in our country with the virus, and she didn't go. And instead, she got another round of radiation, and by July, she was gone. But what
ah,
she told me was her doctor told her cancer was environmental. If I would have gotten to her earlier, I think she'd still be here.
mm, ah, breaks my heart, right? I know.
Yes.
Mm,
But that is about 1% of the cancers are genetic. The rest
yeah,
are from our environment.
that is crazy. And I lost my mom to lung cancer 7 years ago.
Mm.
Yeah, you just my goodness, I just feel like, since the pandemic, I think a lot of us have trying to change our mindset, change our behavior. It's like we got to live our best life as best we can. I mean, do you notice an uptick in people really on this health kick, mental health and wellness since that?
Hmm. Yes, it's much easier to talk about. It's much more of an open space. And people don't back away from you when you start talking
Mm-hmm.
about holistic lifestyle, healing, and I just love it.
Got it. Well, thank you. Remind us one more time how we could reach you.
Yes, my website is heartsofwellness.com/YOU, which is because it's all about you. We need to be our own best friend, our
Yep.
own best cheerleader, because we are the only ones who can make ourselves happy. We should
Yep.
not be looking outward for any of that
Mm-hmm.
affirmation.
Well, thank you so much. And if we want to reach out, do you offer like an initial consult discovery call?
Yes, there is a link on my website, and I don't remember what page it's on, but there is a working with Wendy section. And what we do is we take a half an hour and we just get you a win because that's
Mm-hmm.
what's important is get you your first win. So I
Oh,
welcome you to check out my website and just don't give up. Don't give up before the miracle happens. We're always so close
yep.
and we just think something isn't working and we give up. So we
Oh,
just need to really dive deep, look inside ourselves. And you can do that in just a few minutes a day. Just do
oh.
that, get outside, just breathe. If you can
Okay.
just listen to the birds, that's what it's about.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Great getting to know you, and I hope we can connect again.
Yes,
All
I
right.
plan on it and I appreciate it. So thank you as well.
Thank you. Have a fantastic day. And to all of our listeners, stay tuned. More of the show's coming up right after the break. Please stay with us. Thanks again. Bye bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.